The film starts with a big party where a teenager named Cole is trying to find his little brother, Duckett, amidst the crowded house. Someone tells him that his brother is acting out, and Cole eventually locates Duckett, who has locked himself in a room. Cole breaks the door to find Duckett, shirtless and injured, muttering to himself. He decides to take his brother home. When Cole notices that everyone is recording this scene on their phones, he becomes upset and shouts at them to stop. However, unexpectedly, Duckett stabs Cole and then goes outside to harm himself, leaving the other party guests in shock. In the following scene, we meet Mia, a 17-year-old high school student who is grappling with the 2-year anniversary of her mother's death. Mia believes her mom died from an accidental overdose and has grown distant from her dad, Max, due to the past events. Later that day, Mia goes to pick up Riley, the younger brother of her best friend Jade, from his friend's house. Ever since her mother's passing, Mia has been staying at Jade's house, as their family is the only source of happiness and hope during her difficult times. Mia and Jade come across a party on social media hosted by teenagers Haley and Joss. There are rumors that they're involved in some eerie, mysterious activities with the party guests. However, Jade dismisses it as a mere act, and Mia is curious to see for herself. Jade agrees to accompany her, mainly because her boyfriend Daniel will be there. With her younger brother Riley in tow, the three of them quietly slip away and make their way to the party. At the party, they reunite with Jade's boyfriend Daniel, who also happens to be Mia's former flame. Despite their past relationship, they've managed to remain friends. A little later, Haley and Joss introduce them to a popular game called Talk to Me. The highlight of the game is an embalmed hand, said to have mystical inscriptions. The rules are simple. Hold the embalmed hand, light a candle, and say the words, "Talk to me." This is supposed to summon a demon or spirit, but only the person holding the hand can see it. Afterward, that person must utter the phrase, "I let you in," and that's when they become possessed by a demon. Mia eagerly volunteers to be the one to experience possession. Haley, as the host, warns her that the connection must be severed within 90 seconds by blowing out the candle to prevent the spirits from binding themselves to her. Mia starts by gripping the embalmed hand and saying the words, "Talk to me." She's taken aback when she sees the ghostly figure of an elderly man, which initially startles her. Jade is initially reluctant to let Mia continue with the game, but she regains her composure with encouragement from Haley. Mia takes hold of the hand again, and this time she encounters a frightening vision of a strange-looking woman. With Haley's urging, Mia bravely utters, "I let you in," and at that moment, the spirit enters her body. Before long, Mia's behavior takes a wild turn, and she starts speaking in a strange, threatening voice. She points her finger at Jade's younger brother, Riley, and tells him that they really like him. Spookily, the door opens on its own, and when the clock hits 83 seconds, Joss attempts to pull Mia away from the hand before the 90-second mark. However, the demon resists releasing the hand and urges Riley to make a run for it. In time, Haley and Joss succeed in breaking Mia's connection with the spirit, even though it's a bit past the 90-second limit. Later that night, when they return home, Riley approaches Mia, curious about what it felt like to be possessed by the spirit. Mia responds with a smile, describing the experience as incredible. She could hear, see, and feel everything. Mia's enthusiastic account of her possession experience prompts Jade's boyfriend, Daniel, to express his desire to try it as well. Haley agrees, and they decide to conduct the spirit summoning game at Jade's house that night. Haley consents to Jade's proposal, and they decide to go through with it at Jade's house later that evening. They all assemble at Jade's place, eagerly anticipating Haley and Joss's initiation of the spirit summoning game. Without hesitation, Daniel takes a seat in front of the embalmed hand and chants the words, "Talk to me, and I let you in," which result in his possession. Worst of all, whatever possesses Daniel insults Jade and sexually arouses him. As Daniel dries himself by lying on the floor, Jade's dog approaches and Daniel licks his mouth, sexually. This scene is very unpleasant, and at the same time the other young men are fascinated and quickly extinguish the candle. Nonetheless, none of them feel satisfied, so they all decide to give it another try that very night. Fortunately, Jade's mom, Sue, is away for the evening. When Riley inquires if he can take a turn, Jade declines, emphasizing that the game is too risky, and the rest of the group concurs because he's still too young. Consequently, Jade and Riley get into an argument, leading Jade to leave the room briefly. During her absence, Riley implores Mia for a chance to try the game. Mia reluctantly agrees but limits his time to just 50 seconds instead of the usual 90. Excited, Riley proceeds with the ritual. He recites the necessary words while Haley sets the timer, and he promptly becomes possessed. To everyone's astonishment, Riley appears to be inhabited by Mia's deceased mother, and the situation intensifies. Initially, Mom speaks affectionately, expressing how much she misses Mia. The other teenagers want to end the connection after 50 seconds, but Mia pleads for more time to converse with her supposed mother. As the clock counts down, the other teens try to sever the connection. However, things take a sinister turn as the spirit controlling Riley suddenly becomes violent, forcefully slamming his head against a cabinet. Jade and the others struggle to finally take the hand away from Riley's control. Riley's condition is dire, requiring urgent medical attention, prompting them to rush him to the hospital. The group is left stunned by the tragedy, and when the police arrive to investigate, they are all left speechless and bewildered. Filled with guilt for allowing Riley to join in, Mia decides to pack up her things and return to her dad's house. When she attempts to visit Riley at the hospital, both Jade and Sue reject her, holding her responsible for what happened to him. Sue, the mother, sternly tells Mia to leave and threatens to involve the police if she returns. However, just as Mia is about to depart, she catches a glimpse of her mother's reflection in the window. The maternal figure guides her to the restroom, where Mia hears her mother's voice pleading for help. Yet when she looks inside, no one is there. Following this strange incident, Mia starts spending more time with her ex-boyfriend, Daniel, and it becomes evident that Mia still has lingering feelings for him. Mia believes her mother might be trying to reach out to her, despite Daniel's doubts that Riley's spirit is her mother's. That night, with Daniel staying over, Mia is startled awake by a nightmare. Suddenly, she witnesses the apparition of an elderly woman approaching Daniel and sucking on his foot. Terrified, she urgently shouts at him to wake up. However, when Daniel awakens, he's in for a surprise. It's Mia who was the one sucking on his foot. This bizarre turn of events freaks Daniel out, prompting him to swiftly leave the house. After he departs, Mia appears to have taken control of the hand and sets up a candle to attempt communication with her mother's spirit. Her mother, Rhea, finally materializes, and Mia can no longer suppress her burning question. Did her mother's overdose result from an accident or a deliberate act? Her mother's spirit reassures her that it was genuinely an accident and that she would never willingly leave Mia. The spirit also reveals that Riley is in pain and urgently needs help. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Jade is doing her best to assist Riley, who remains under the influence of the possession, and he ends up biting her. Subsequently, he collapses to the floor, hitting his head against the bathroom wall. The demon inside him is trying to harm him, but fortunately a doctor intervenes and manages the situation. Jumping ahead to the next scene, Mia joins forces with Daniel, Haley, and Joss as they embark on a quest to locate Cole, the individual we initially encountered in the opening scene. They discover that Joss acquired the hand from Duckett, who we saw take his own life at the beginning. They then encounter Cole, who blames Joss for repeatedly involving Duckett, his late brother, in playing with the demonic hand. Cole explains that the longer the spirits inhabit Riley, the weaker they become, suggesting that their best option is to wait it out. Worried about Riley's dwindling time, Mia devises a plan. She believes they may have forgotten to blow out the candle during Riley's possession, so her plan is for Riley to complete the game again. Mia heads to the hospital in an attempt to provoke the spirits into repossessing Riley and find a way to bring him back. However, her efforts prove unsuccessful. Mia then resolves to enter the spirit world to rescue Riley's soul, which she believes is held captive by the spirits. Suddenly, in a vision, she encounters the spirit of a young girl and implores the girl to lead her to Riley. The girl agrees and reveals that Riley is enduring torment from numerous violent spirits in limbo. Upon regaining consciousness, Mia informs her friends that the spirits won't stop harming Riley. When Mia returns home, her father Max approaches her, expressing a desire to reveal the truth about her mother's death. He apologizes for not sharing it sooner and shows her Rhea's suicide note, confirming that her death was not an accident. Devastated and in tears in her room, Mia sees Rhea's spirit. However, Mia hears her father knocking on her door, and her mother claims that Max wrote the note as a lie insisting that the spirit is imitating Max. In the adjacent room, the real Max is seen. Rhea further contends that Riley can only be saved if he dies. The spirit imitating her father Max enters the room and violently attacks Mia. The actual Max hears the commotion from the other room and discovers that Mia's door is locked, prompting him to break it down to check on her. As Mia attempts to defend herself against the attacking spirit, she accidentally stabs her real father in the neck with a pair of scissors. Later, Mia calls Jade and asks her to come over to her house, claiming she knows what to do. However, it turns out Mia deceives Jade into leaving the hospital, while Mia herself heads there to see Riley. Just then, Jade's mother, Sue, arrives and offers an apology for her earlier remarks. Sue reassures Mia that she was never to blame for what happened to Riley and grants Mia a moment alone with him. Almost entirely under the influence of the demonic spirits, Mia becomes convinced that the only way to save Riley is by ending his life, thinking it will put an end to his suffering. She attempts to do so with the same pair of scissors, but ultimately cannot bring herself to follow through. Meanwhile, Jade, who arrives at Mia's house, can't find Mia anywhere but instead discovers her father in critical condition. Jade quickly calls for an ambulance and informs her mother, cautioning her about Mia's potential danger to Riley. Sue then rushes to Riley's hospital room, but her son is no longer there, having left with Mia. Upon Jade's return to the hospital, she spots Mia pushing Riley in a wheelchair in the distance and follows her closely. Mia decides to wheel Riley to the side of a busy highway with the intention of ending his suffering. In her hallucination, she envisions him as an old, decaying spirit. Rhea's spirit attempts to convince Mia to push Riley into oncoming traffic by whispering words of pride and encouragement, suggesting that Mia is doing the right thing. Succumbing to this influence, Mia removes her hands from Riley's wheelchair, causing an approaching car to collide with an unidentified object on the road. The next moment, we see Mia lying in the middle of the road, as if she has been struck by a car, sustaining severe injuries. When Mia regains consciousness on the street, she observes Jade caring for Riley by the roadside. Suddenly, she finds herself in a hospital, but the surroundings seem peculiar and surreal. Riley appears to have made a complete recovery and is leaving with Jade and Sue. Max also seems to have healed from his injuries,